Your support helps us bring you programs you love. Go to wyomingpbs.org, click on Support, and become a sustaining member or an annual member. It's easy and secure. Thank you.
How does giving to others make you healthier and happier? Wyoming Chronicle, with underwriting support from AARP Wyoming, will look at the value of volunteering in Wyoming by hearing from those on the front lines of service. First, we'll talk with Jamie Purcell, the Executive Director of the Wyoming Food for Thought Project, and we'll also visit with Evan Townsend, Project Coordinator from the Wyoming Conservation Corps. And then we'll meet the staff of Serve Wyoming. They're ready to help your organization solicit volunteers. And if you yourself are looking to volunteer, Serve Wyoming is ready to help you today. Volunteering in Wyoming, next on Wyoming Chronicle.
My name is Jamie Purcell. I am the Executive Director of Wyoming Food for Thought Project, and we depend upon volunteers because we are a volunteer organization. So we just have 2 staff members, and everything else is done by volunteers. Myself and my associate director really do like the nuts and bolts, the paperwork, the fundraising, the donor relations. But our volunteers do everything. They vacuum, they do the dishes, they help prepare meals, they do the food bags, they deliver, they pick up food, they work in the garden. They're an army, and they're why we're successful. Our volunteers prepared over 180,000 meals last year, and they were given directly to children in need right here in Natrona County. All of those meals are shelf-stable, easy to prepare, and kid-friendly. And the volunteers did everything from taking the food off of the truck to organizing the menu, stuffing the bags, pulling the bags and putting them into bins for schools, delivering them to the schools, and then someone at the school who was volunteering to do that made sure that every child who was in the program received their food bag to take home. Many of our volunteers are retirees, and because they have such amazing and diverse experience, they bring fresh ideas to the organization. They bring experience to help us run better. So for instance, one of our lead volunteers for the food bag stuffing is named Tony, and she ran a business with her husband for quite a few years. They've lived in Casper for probably 30 years at least. And so they know a lot of people, and they've really become instrumental in helping us source food directly from Ridley's, working out deals with a grocery store so that we can get a lot more food for a lot less money. Tony's also responsible for making sure that on Wednesdays everything is organized and ready to go for the army of volunteers who shows up ready to stuff food bags. Another one of our volunteers, Steve Lovelace, is actually the reason that our gardens look as amazing as they do. He came to us with our first garden bed in downtown Casper when we were down there and helped us do everything from putting our water system in to donating plants to helping us save seeds. And from that small garden bed, we've grown to over 100 community garden beds, a greenhouse. He's helped build all of that. He's built the rain barrels, and he's really the brains behind why our community gardens are thriving.
I'm Evan Townsend. I work for the Wyoming Conservation Corps as a project coordinator. Volunteers are really important for us because we would be nothing without them. We are 3 staff full-time, just like Serve Wyoming, but in the summer we're somewhere up to 50 staff, and that wouldn't be possible without volunteers. So our volunteers work all over the state on public land. We do everything under the big C of conservation, which is everything from historic preservation to trail work is kind of our bread and butter, but we do fuels reduction. We just finished a fuels reduction project taking care of prehistoric art, actually. Well, I can't tell you where, but we also do everything from habitat restoration. We just finished up with some sage grouse last year, and so we really do engage all of our volunteers in projects all over the state, and everything under this big C of conservation. You can be from anywhere, and you can be from anywhere in the country as long as you're a USA citizen. We have a lot of people that come from out of state who are really interested in the state, and this is kind of a safe program for them to see a whole lot of Wyoming and get paid for it. And then we end up getting more people into our state who are interested in fall in love with the public land. But anybody in Wyoming can volunteer, whether of all ages. Just get in touch with us and we'll show you where the projects are. But if you want to work for us, you have to be within those age ranges and be able to commit to those time frames.
As we continue to explore volunteer opportunities in Wyoming, it's our pleasure on Wyoming Chronicle to be joined by the staff of Serve Wyoming. Shelley McAlpin is Serve Wyoming's Executive Director. Welcome, Shelley.
Thank you.
And Nariah Glasgow is a program officer for Serve Wyoming. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Jessica Stanberry is a program coordinator for Serve Wyoming. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
What is it that you do here at Serve Wyoming? Let's start right there. Sally, go ahead.
Well, Serve Wyoming is really like a one-stop shop for service. So if you're looking for volunteer opportunities, you give us a holler. If you're wanting to learn more about AmeriCorps opportunities, likewise, you would contact us.
So when you say if you're interested, this is not only if you want to help and volunteer, it's also if your organization needs help.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that a little bit. If you're a nonprofit, if you're a church, what if someone needs help for a project they're considering, what should they do? How do they go about soliciting help?
Sure. Well, that's really why the program was started, is we wanted a place, a venue for people to be able to find out what type of opportunities are available across our state. And likewise, if you're a nonprofit or agency that has some volunteer programming component, where can I go to put my message out and try to connect with people? So they can do it in a variety of ways. They can visit our website, and it'll literally take you to this portal where you can designate whether you are someone seeking volunteers or someone who wants to volunteer. And then you would put in that criteria and the type of things that you're looking for, and you can meet up that way.
And there's literally, really, anyone can do this. Anyone who meets a certain criteria can ask for help.
Absolutely.
And Jessica, let's go over, you spend a lot of time with people all over Wyoming. What sort of people are you able to connect, and how many people do you connect?
Well, it's kind of ranges from many different ages to employed, unemployed, retired. We help link up school groups, so young kids with opportunities in their area. Oftentimes we see people who are retired but don't really want to retire yet. So we find opportunities to keep them busy, get them out of the house.
What sort of opportunities might those be?
Anything really that we ask first what they're interested in to make sure that what they're going to be doing is something they're going to enjoy, and oftentimes the retired folks want to do kind of that ongoing I need to be there maybe a few times a week, and so that's kind of the office stuff. So they might help answer phones or maybe help with filing. Or help with outreach for an organization to get their message out. It really kind of just depends on what the person's interested in, but nonprofits need help in just about every area, I would say.
Do you find that there are more organizations that need help than there are volunteers for at this point in time?
I think that's a tricky question because it's more of the match. If a volunteer is interested in the position that a nonprofit needs help in. I think most nonprofits need help or will accept help anytime. But it's kind of the volunteers on whether they want to do X, Y, or Z, and if they have the time to commit, to an organization to help. So I think it's kind of the chicken before the egg dilemma, but it's a tough one to answer. I think there's plenty of volunteers and plenty of nonprofits that needs help.
And as far as volunteering, this could be everything from a weekend of service to multiple years.
Yep, and we get those volunteers who, they want just the event-based volunteering. They want to help out for a couple hours and go about their day, which is totally fine. There are nonprofits all over the state who have events, those kind of one-time opportunities to help out. Then you have volunteers who want kind of the regular ongoing and really get their, foot in the door with an organization and really get involved with them. And so that's more the ongoing opportunities that you see where they'll help with capacity building things like developing a program or helping with community outreach. So it just kind of depends.
And just to emphasize, I don't think we can emphasize enough, this just isn't a Casper thing or a Cheyenne thing.
No.
This is anyone in Wyoming can take advantage of this service.
Statewide. We're based out of Casper, of course, so if you want to stop in and see us, you got to be in the Casper area, but we take phone calls from all around the state, and that's the beauty of the online system that Shelley was explaining, is it's free for anyone to get on and look for volunteer opportunities. If you create a profile, then you can connect with nonprofits. It's free for nonprofits to be on there and post their volunteer opportunities, promote their events. So it's a really good way for us to still help out, even though we may not be able to be, up in Cody or something like that. So,
Nuria, you spend more of your time with the AmeriCorps program. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So tell me about that. Just in thinking about AmeriCorps, I understand that you can give a year of national service, but my thoughts are maybe that's for younger people or people just out of college like might join the Peace Corps, but really that's not the case. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it is for anyone 17 and older. So if you have a heart of service and you have the time or you have a specific interest that you'd like to pursue a little bit more, AmeriCorps is a chance for you to give of yourself for a certain amount of time. And you give the organization your skills, your interest, your passion, your dedication, and then the organization helps you develop some along the way too in the mission. So if you want to serve with kids, then the organization helps you learn how to serve kids, like in a really with good training and that kind of stuff, and then you can put it on your resume. But it also helps you figure out if that's really what you want to do. If you really want to serve kids, you want to serve everyone, do you want to work with animals? It's an awesome opportunity. I was an AmeriCorps member for 2 years, and then I served on the commission for Serve Wyoming, and now I'm an employee, and my heart is still with service and AmeriCorps, and really passionate about getting people connected to that program.
So where in Wyoming does AmeriCorps serve?
Everywhere. So we have, I don't know if there's a county we don't reach, but most of our programs, a lot of our programs are based out of Laramie, but they serve statewide. So we have Greater Wyoming, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Wyoming Coalition Against Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault, and we have the Wyoming Conservation Corps, all based out of Laramie, but affect statewide programming all over, youth and the environment and people who are victims of domestic violence all over Wyoming. And then in Jackson, we have Teton Science Schools, and then Northwest Wyoming is the Northwest Wyoming Big Brothers Big Sisters.
If I have a nonprofit and I'm interested in enlisting AmeriCorps support, where would I start and what would the requirements be?
So we have an application process that begins the fall of every year, and so interested AmeriCorps, people who are interested in AmeriCorps, they come to us and fill out applications. It's very competitive. So we have 2 sources of funding. We have a national set of funding, and that happens every year. But then every 3 years, Serve Wyoming is able to open up their formula application, and then we can fund on a 3-year basis. But they come to us and we work through them to see if they're a good fit, because it's an intensive program, and you have to have all your ducks in a row and have the capacity to have a lot of people on the ground running and serving effectively.
Is there, how do you get that word out? How is it that you get to different nonprofits in Wyoming saying, hey, AmeriCorps might be a solution for you? How does that happen?
We do a lot of outreach. In fact, this year so far, we've talked to at least 50 different organizations. It's a neat process because part of it's word of mouth. Like all of a sudden, this week, we had like 3 different organizations calling us saying, we heard about AmeriCorps, what is it and how can it work for us? So sometimes it's, I think maybe because of the economy or maybe because of the marketing that we do, email or online or radio or TV, that they're hearing more about AmeriCorps, and we really want it to be a household name. And so it's kind of neat to have so many people call us interested in not only becoming an AmeriCorps program, but serving as an AmeriCorps member.
And if I'm interested in serving, I don't know what to do or where I can go. You're the contact person to understand the possibilities. And,
yes.
And is there a stipend that's available for people who serve in AmeriCorps? How does that function?
There is. A full-time person gets a living stipend, and they also get health insurance, and they're eligible for child care benefits and other benefits too that come with having a lower income. But then they also, at the end of their service, earn a CELI Education Award, Eli Siegel Education Award, and basically that helps pay off qualified tuition costs or loans. So it's a really cool way to further your career, your educational goals, and so you can do a lot with it.
And if you're a senior who may not be going back to school,
yes,
what happens?
You get to transfer that education award to either a child, a grandchild, a foster child, or somebody you've adopted. It's a really cool opportunity to be able to serve for your blood.
When people volunteer, what surprises you that they get out of volunteering? I mean, sure, we would all, on the face of things, say, yeah, it feels good to volunteer. What have you experienced, Shelley?
Oh, me personally, or working with so many different groups?
Everyone and what you've seen.
Well, you know, it really varies. Motivations are across the board for volunteering and why they do it. And maybe they're showing up because they have a belief in the system that they're wanting to volunteer for. Maybe they're just trying to find something else to do. I mean, we get that a lot as well, but really I think it boils down to passion. I started at Serve Wyoming about 11 years ago as a volunteer because this lady asked me to come and help with some files, and there was an Excel file, remember, the blinking dot that we couldn't figure out how to get rid of, and I had the mad skills to figure out how to get rid of it, I guess.
Mad skills.
But you know, I showed up because a friend asked me to, and I've been here ever since. It led to employment for me. It wasn't a career that I particularly thought I was going to move towards, but it happened, and it's been a really good journey for me. But you see multiple people across the state that we've been able to touch their lives in some way, and it's a pretty cool feeling when you're able just to be that person that joins people together.
Have you noticed that at this time where Wyoming is with its economy struggling somewhat, that the need for volunteerism is really increased dramatically? Is there more than just anecdotal stories about that?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, we see the statistics. I think if you go to America.gov, Volunteering in America, excuse me, you'll see our ranking as a state, and you'll see that around 150,000 reported to census that they're volunteering. But I think if you talk to Jess, she would tell you that even our own statistics are much higher, and we're getting nonprofits calling us pretty regularly asking for support and help. And I think there's a direct correlation.
Jesse, you probably visited with folks who maybe have lost their job. Mm-hmm. And what should they know about volunteering? We talked a little bit, it can be a career path. Definitely. Enhanced networking, there's got to be a lot of opportunities there in the volunteer world that maybe can help some folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Volunteering is a great way to gain new employment or even explore a new career. It's a good way to stay busy, while you're in between jobs, or add a new skill to your resume. And just like you said, it's a really great way to network. It can put you in the right place, with the right people. And more than anything, I think it just helps you stay sharp in terms of your professional skills and even add new ones.
If someone's going to volunteer, they may be able to commit for years and years, but they don't know.
Right.
Should they still make the call?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we always encourage volunteers when we refer them to an organization to be open and honest about their commitment, that they're able to provide or not provide. Most nonprofits are really flexible with you. There's usually something that you can do for an hour every other day, or there's something that you can do for, 5-hour chunks. I think if you're just honest with, an organization or a cause that you're helping with, any amount of time that you give is valuable. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, for sure, is why I would encourage anybody to call. Even an hour, even 15 minutes, I think, is helpful.
And again, we can't emphasize enough, this is just not a CASPER program, it's a statewide program. Tell me, you talked about the competitive application process to be an AmeriCorps. That shouldn't scare anyone away. Is that a fair assessment?
No, it shouldn't scare anyone away. I mean, sometimes it takes a little while to figure out what kind of programming you offer and where AmeriCorps is a good fit to be a solution, for something that you're working on. So I provide technical assistance to anyone who calls, and we go through it. We start with a concept paper, really, just so they don't, if it's not a good fit, we don't want them to have to go through this huge application. We want them to start with a smaller application and see if it's a good fit. And sometimes even going through the concept paper, it helps them think about what they're offering with their programming, and they might even come up with something different than what they had originally planned on submitting for, AmeriCorps programming. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I would just add that if you do a concept paper with us, we retain those, and we can actually use them as planning grants. So maybe you're not ready or prepared for a much larger program. Maybe down the road, if the funds are available, we can offer you a planning grant to get to that point where you would be able to.
Mm-hmm. One of the services you can provide people maybe is matching for people that have all of the labor end of their project just fired up and ready to go, but maybe not the administrative, the grant management functions. Is that true?
That definitely could be true. I mean, if you're talking about just maybe general volunteering, we have a pro bono volunteer network, which is basically professional volunteers. You apply for their services, we match them, and maybe they're going to help you fulfill some need related to, grants management or capacity building in some way.
This could be attorneys, financial support, lots of different professional services.
Absolutely, across the gamut. I mean, we've had
Marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing is huge.
all kinds of
Fund development, board development.
strategic planning, business planning. I mean,
So you're also a nonprofit organization, and
We are.
you also have to manage that funding requirements. And how is Serve Wyoming funded? What is your support?
well, we're supported really in 3 different ways. We're supported, of course, we exist by executive order, so we're a governor's commission to be able to take these AmeriCorps funds and transfer them to organizations across our state. So there's a small federal administrative grant that we receive there. We match dollar for dollar that grant with a lot of charitable giving, a lot of foundations and individuals who are giving. We also receive a very small state allocation.
How do you know whether you're effective? Do you judge yourself with other states? Other states also have volunteer networks. We said maybe there's 150,000 Wyomingites who volunteer.
Yeah.
How do we know where we stand? Do we have that volunteer spirit or not?
Well, I think we judge ourselves based on performance measures. I mean, we are a federal entity, so we're not a federal entity, we receive federal funds, so we have to show, our success in what we do. And the statistics show us that people need these resources in our state and that they have for a long time. It's being able to connect in different ways. We're connecting people, and that's what we do. So oftentimes it's the stories that we have that, in my opinion, shows the most success.
Where do service organizations factor into community service with what you do? Do you support other service organizations too? And I'm thinking about Lions Clubs and Elks Clubs and those types of things. Is there other interaction where they need more support and you can help them out? Does that ever come across your desk?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, we get calls all the time. Can you help us put this service event together? Can you help us facilitate what we do annually, some sort of event of sorts? Yeah, there's people, organizations, social entities across the state that do these things. So it's not uncommon that we'll get those calls, for sure.
Jesse, you talk to people all over Wyoming. What is the biggest kind of misunderstanding about volunteering that you come across? Is there anything special that people just are surprised to learn with maybe the services you provide, whether it can be the help that you provide or the breadth of volunteerism that you can maybe connect? What do they learn when they call here that might surprise them?
Well, I think at Serve Wyoming we believe work is work, whether it's paid or not, and I think sometimes volunteers have to get over that hurdle of, they're working for free, and that might seem like the case, but volunteerism is extremely valuable in our state. They oftentimes are helping nonprofits that would otherwise have to close their doors. So it's extremely, extremely valuable. And I think what surprises a lot of people about volunteering is not just how good it feels, but how big of a difference they can make, either directly by, providing their service to an organization, but also indirectly by seeing, because of their help, this organization was able to, expand their services by, XYZ. So I think a lot of times people are surprised at how impactful their service can be to an organization, like I said, that otherwise might have to close their doors.
It's surprising to learn, but if you think about it, what would happen if we didn't have volunteers?
Oh, they're amazing. I mean, even just, I think, too, in Wyoming, Shelley mentioned that in that 2015 report by Volunteering in America, that almost 150,000 Wyomingites volunteered, but we think that's extremely underreported.
Yeah, very underreported.
Because people volunteer all the time, they just don't consider it volunteering, like coaching their kids' soccer team or shoveling their neighbor's walk. That's volunteering. You're doing something in service to someone or something else and not expecting anything in return. And so that's why we think volunteerism in our state specifically is very much underreported. The rural nature of Wyoming too, I think, adds to that, but it's so valuable, and it's hard to even, I think, express how valuable volunteering is.
We have about 30 seconds left. Shall we talk about the role you play in managing AmeriCorps funding?
Well, it is a unique responsibility. It really is. It's our job to make sure that they're successful and that they're able to get the resources that they need to manage those funds and those people. So, I mean, essentially that's what we do. We grant the funds, we monitor the funds, we offer trainings both to the programs that in our portfolio and to the members that are serving with them. So it's also a way to connect. I mean, we're a vast state, so if we're able to connect to those people that are essentially serving our country and our state, it's kind of a cool opportunity to be in this role.
Making sure everybody gets the best out of it. Like, it's the
Yeah.
most effective opportunity and experience for everybody involved. I think that's another part of what we do.
But the underlying message is if you need help, ask.
Yeah,
If you
Yes.
want to help, call.
absolutely.
Anybody.
School age,
Families.
millennials, or even
Yeah.
retired folks.
Yeah, corporations, businesses, anybody. If you're living, breathing, just go ahead and call us to volunteer.
I think that's a great way to tie this segment up. So, Shelley McAlpin,
Thank you.
Nerier Glasgow, and Jessica Stanberry, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you.